Oh, see, now you come to making dinner. Where were you before? Are LED masks the secret to having flawless glass skin at home? Can these at-home IPL devices be used to get rid of fine lines, wrinkles, brown spots, pigmentation, acne, and more? What about at-home laser hair removal devices? Do they even work? And are they safe for your skin? Today's video is part one of a two-part video series. And in today's video, we're going to be concentrating on at-home laser and at-home light devices. Next week, we'll be discussing at-home face lifting, face tightening, and anti-wrinkle at-home devices. So be sure to hit the notification bell and subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss it next week. When it comes to at-home devices, there are some that work and some that don't work, and just managing expectations and knowing what you're investing your money and your time into is really important. So I'm not here to promote one or to say negative things about another. I just want to educate you and give you the background, true information on these at-home devices. So if you do decide to purchase one or try one out, you know what you're getting into. I'm Dr. Stephanie Kappel. I'm a board certified dermatologist and fellowship trained cosmetic and aesthetic dermatologist, and I'm here to provide a source of truth and honesty in an industry that's contaminated with misinformation and clickbait education. Before you go spending thousands of dollars on at-home LED masks and at-home laser devices, let me give you some education on the science and technology behind many of these at-home devices, how they work, if they work, which ones, if any, are worth your time and financial investment, the potential negative side effects from these devices that no one wants to talk about, including some dermatologists and other physicians that may be selling them online through affiliate links on social media or some secondary way. Even doctors who promote some of these at-home devices will agree that there's complications, negative side effects, and sometimes they don't even work. But unfortunately, aesthetics has been run down by sponsorships, affiliate links. I see the behind the scenes, and I talk to colleagues who actually promote some of these devices, and we see and hear about the complications, yet they still try to promote these at-home devices. So I'm here to be a source of truth and honesty without talking about any company in particular, but just want to give you guys the inside truth about many of these devices. And some do work, and some work better than others. So just be careful, because just because a doctor recommends it, unfortunately, it may not always work, and it may have some potential side effects that they also don't want to discuss because they want sales. All right, my beauties, let's get into it. LED masks and at-home lasers or devices are FDA cleared but not FDA approved. So what's the difference between FDA approved and FDA cleared? Because there's a significant difference between the two. For a device to be FDA approved, there have to be many steps that are met, and it's very difficult to attain for a drug, a pharmaceutical, or for a product. To get FDA approval, you have to go through pre-marketing approval by the FDA. Then you have to hold a clinical trial, and then after that, you have a post-clinical trial registry. It's a very intense system that you have to go through in order to get a device that is FDA approved. So things like Fraxel Laser Dual or CO2 Core or V-Beam Perfecta, lasers that are used in the medical setting have gained FDA approval. And there's a lot that has to go into having clinical research, randomized controlled trials, and post-clinical registries. And I know this because firsthand, I've trained with a world-renowned laser fellowship, Dr. Suzanne Kilmer, who trained me in lasers, and we worked at the Laser and Skin Surgery Center of Northern California, and it was the epicenter of a lot of the clinical trials for a lot of the machines and devices that you see used today. Thermage, Clear and Brilliant, even new fillers, different forms of Radiesse and Juvederm and Volbella, Volux, Velour, they all go through clinical trials. After a clinical trial closes, you have to do the post-clinical trial registry, where they take into account all different side effects, contraindications, and less than desirable outcomes, and gather all this information and data and run it through the FDA before getting approval. That is very different than FDA clearance, which is what most of these at-home devices go through. FDA clearance just means it is substantially equivalent to another similarly legally marketed device. So I was able to see firsthand what it takes for a product or laser or device to gain FDA approval. And it's a lot, but it's for patient safety and for optimizing outcomes. Now, the at-home devices very rarely have FDA approval. They have FDA clearance. So it has nothing to do with outcomes, nothing to do with superior outcomes. I see patients in my office who use at-home LED lights inappropriately. They'll combine it. I had a patient the other week who bought a TCA peel from Amazon, put it on her face, and used an at-home LED mask and ended up in the burn unit. So even though these are FDA cleared, we can't help what people are going to do, especially when people get very DIY savvy and creative and curious and can actually cause harm. So even though it's FDA cleared, it doesn't mean that it's absolutely safe and you're safe from harmful side effects that can occur. LED masks. What is LED light therapy? LED stands for light emitting diode. So it's not a laser, because a laser by acronym, by definition, is light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. That by definition is a laser. A diode, which is LED, light emitting diode, is it's not a wavelength because it's not coherent photons in one wavelength. That's very targeted, very elegant, very smart, and very specific. LED is just basically broadband light that is kind of being targeted everywhere in the skin to hopefully induce changes. Now, you can break it down into red light, which can stimulate collagen. It can stimulate the fibroblasts, which are the collagen-producing cells, to make more collagen. It could be blue light, which is more targeted towards acne because it targets the P. acnes bacteria that causes acne, and it also affects the sebaceous glands. Or it could be blue, green, amber, yellow light, which is still under investigation, and it's not really clear what those light emitting diodes in that wavelength spectrum can induce. So people will just say rejuvenation, which can mean anything. So people will say a lot, they'll talk about photobiomodulation. And all that is changes in the skin secondary to light or photons hitting the skin. And they basically stimulate cellular changes by heat. And that is not the most elegant or precise specific way to induce photorejuvenation or collagen stimulation to help erase fine lines and wrinkles or for hair removal. Lasers are a lot more specific and targeted, and when in the right hands, safer than some of these at-home devices that I call them sloppy photons. You're just throwing a bunch of photons at the skin and a huge wavelength array range, and not a targeted specific wavelength that's going to target a specific chromophore or a specific structure in the skin. It's like, say you have a huge dinner table with all your flatware and all of the napkins and all the decor for the table, and you have this orchid sitting in the middle of the table and this little potted plant, and you want to water the orchid, but you want to spare everything else on the table because you don't have to reset the table and ruin everything. You can have a little dropper that's going to go directly into the pot to feed the flower without destroying the entire table. Or you could take a fire hose and just spray it over the whole table, knock everything out, but then you're still watering the orchid. The orchid gets watered in both instances, but it's a lot more specific and it's a lot less destructive with a lot less side effects when you're just targeting the pot holding the flower. Now you come to making dinner. Where were you before? Huh? You want to be in the video? This is real life. Justin is recovering from a foot surgery, so he's watching the playoffs. I'm making dinner, and I'm about to pick up my son and his friend from surfing. So they usually surf after school, and they're 2 teenage boys, so they're gonna come home hungry. So I'm gonna have dinner ready for them, and I'm gonna take you guys with me and vlog while I go pick them up, pull them out of the water, and then feed them. Bye, babe. Okay, so let's talk about at-home IPL, or at-home laser hair removal devices. IPL, which stands for intense pulse light, and what that means is, again, it's a broad spectrum of wavelength that targets melanin in the hair follicle, which basically causes hair removal. The thing that is scary about this is that, unlike a laser, which we usually use for hair removal, it's either like a 810 diode laser or 755 Alexandrite laser or a 1064 YAG laser. This is just like an IPL, which is intense pulse light, which is not actually truly a laser. It's not collimated photons in a coherent wavelength targeting very specific melanin in the hair follicle to destroy the hair. Instead, it's just, like I said, sloppy photons, because the photons are sloppy. They're not targeting like that specific melanin in the hair follicle to get rid of that hair. It's just basically dumping photons everywhere. So how do you know that the IPL photons are not going to attack melanin that's in the skin, giving skin its pigment? Or how do you know it's not going to target, if someone has an ornamental tattoo, it's going to target that chromophore? So it's just not very specific. You can really hurt yourself and cause hyperpigmentation, or even worse, hypopigmentation, which is harder to clear, burns and side effects, and not even have hair removal. A large part of my procedural dermatology and laser fellowship was understanding different skin tones and exactly what settings, which wavelengths, which combination of lasers to use depending on the amount and density of melanin in the skin, which is skin's natural pigmentation. To leave that in the hands of the consumer, maybe you think you're fair and you're darker, or maybe you think you're darker and you're more fair, and you select the inappropriate setting, it can lead to hyperpigmentation, which is sometimes really hard to correct, or even worse, depigmentation, which is even more difficult to correct. So bold claims online and unethical marketing tactics is a big problem in aesthetics altogether, whether you're talking about a skincare line or a medical device that is not FDA approved but FDA cleared. Anyone can say anything about anything these days, and there's not really the judgment or scrutiny that other drugs or other products or devices may be held at a certain standard too. So what that means is you can say I hold this flashlight against your skin and it'll stimulate collagen and it'll erase brown spots and it will make you look 10 years younger. And there's no ramification for people using that device, spending money on that device and not having those outcomes. Like there's no accountability or guarantee. There's a lot of clinical studies that are produced by third-party businesses to use as marketing tools for a lot of these at-home devices. People say all the time, Dr. Capel, look at this clinical trial that I saw from this at-home device. That clinical trial was sponsored and funded by the company who manufactures it. And, that's just not statistically significant. If you're looking at sound clinical data from peer-reviewed journals that are done at academic centers with people who are unbiased, no third-party affiliates, no, disclosures, no associations with the company, then that's sound clinical data. And those are the studies that you want to go by. If you're a darker skin tone, or if you struggle with melasma or chloasma or sunspots or brown spots, then you have to be careful that you're not going to get a mask or at-home device that's going to exacerbate that. Good morning. Time to get my kids breakfast and pack lunches and off to school. I was dreaming about at-home devices. There's my baby eating her breakfast. The youngest goes off to school first. Rabbi, did you see any whales yesterday? Sometimes you can see whales. They're migrating down to the coast, or down the coast of California to Mexico this time of year. And sometimes you can see little spouts of water out there. Of course, you can't see them right now. LED lights can help with hair restoration by decreasing the immune attack on the hair follicle, but if you don't have alopecia, which is hair loss secondary to an inflammatory process, it's not going to probably help you too much with that. But it is anti-inflammatory, which is good for a lot of, skin ailments. Also, musculoskeletal people have full body LEDs at home. Hi, babe. You coming to say goodbye before going to work? So people who have at-home LED panels for musculoskeletal, it also helps them increase recovery and decreases inflammation for people who have muscle soreness after a workout. So it works in the same mechanism. In the skin, it decreases inflammation to help decrease those inflammatory cascades for certain conditions like rosacea, acne, seborrheic dermatitis, psoriasis, things like that. The way LED lights work and LED masks work is the light stimulates and activates activity in the mitochondria. So if you remember from high school biology, mitochondria are cellular organelles. It's like the ATP, which is the energy producing powerhouse of the cell. So when the light stimulates the mitochondria and fibroblasts, it induces collagen production. When it induces the mitochondria, or activates activity in the mitochondria of the melanocytes, it induces hyperpigmentation. And then when it activates the follicular bulb and the stem cells within the hair follicle, it can lead to increased hair growth. And by decreasing the inflammatory cascades, decreasing immunity, it can also lead to hair restoration and hair growth too. So those LED masks that go on the front of the scalp are really helpful, and I think patients have had a lot of benefit from them. So it just depends on what you're going for, but the most important thing to know is that it can cause hyperpigmentation, and it may not have these results that they promise because it's not really regulated by the FDA. It doesn't have to go through clinical trials or approval. If you're investing in an LED mask, it can be expensive. Make sure that you do your research and get a good one. And make sure, thanks babe, make sure that you are not going to do something that's going to cause more harm than what you're originally getting the LED mask for in the first place. Also, wound healing. Wound healing can be improved by use of LED lights as well. There's so many different light masks out there. Probably the strongest, it's like 500 joules, but just to put things in perspective, even the most powerful at-home device, which is 500 joules, when you're in the office and you're using Q-switch lasers, pico lasers, pico's like the trillionth of a second. That's how fast the energy is delivered to the skin. Nanosecond, Q-switch. These are really fast lasers, which is the same amount of energy in a faster amount of time, is more targeted, more powerful. But that's why you're not going to see a Fraxel being an at-home device, because you really need somebody who knows how to operate these lasers. But 500 joules, I think, is probably the strongest on the market. And even that's 500 joules. That's not millijoules or nanoseconds. Meaning it's very slow, meaning it's not very powerful. So even the most powerful one that you buy at home isn't going to even become close to what you'd find in a medical office, but that's good. That's for your protection, so people can't hurt themselves. Although people do still hurt themselves even with these weaker devices. When these companies say it's going to erase fine lines and wrinkles and look like 10 years younger, those are huge overpromised statements that people will be just disappointed and discouraged when they're not achieving those goals. But the companies don't care. They just want to sell. And if you're like, I'm not getting these results, I want to give my money back, or I want to exchange this or trade it back in for something else, they're not going to care. And that's where I just want you guys to make informed decisions on what you spend your money on. Okay, you guys, I got my kids off to school. Did my Peloton workout. Now I got to go in the office and see my beauties and laser you guys, because that is what I love to do best. I'm just walking into clinic. Today's actually National Nurses Day. So I'm getting my amazing laser nurse, Stephanie, these flowers because she is incredible. She knows more about lasers than most doctors out there. Okay, I just finished my clinic, just finished seeing my last patient. By the way, these are lasers. These are true lasers. This is a pico laser. I'm not going to talk about lasers, but there's a big difference between lasers and at-home devices that state that they're lasers. And I feel like it can be very misleading, and you can't expect the same outcomes that you get from one of these compared to one that you're going to buy at home. One of these is, I don't even want to tell you how expensive one of these is to have in the office, but the performance and the outcomes and the safety is definitely something that you're paying for when you're going in the office to have procedures done. Okay, anyway, I have a lot of patients who love the LED masks. They're really happy with it, but I would probably have more patients that I would say I spent a lot of money, I'm super disappointed, like it promised me these results which I'm not seeing. You may be disappointed if you're over-promised outcomes. That's the problem with a lot of these companies, that they promise you the world, they take your money, and they have this like no return policy, there's no accountability, they have a lot of marketing behind the products without a lot of substance, without a lot of data, without a lot of statistical significance or outcomes. So just be careful. They can be very expensive. Some of these are like in the thousands range, but it's not even worth a small amount of money if it's going to take your time and it's going to take your money and it's going to perhaps cause complications. It's going to be very expensive to reverse. So do I recommend it? For the right person, yes. But as with anything in dermatology or aesthetics, it's not one size fits all. Again, it just depends on your skin type, the skin thickness, your age. If someone's 25 years old, they're going to say, wow, I see a difference. A 25-year-old is going to have more collagen, a stronger proliferation rate of the epidermal cells and transepidermal time. They may be more responsive. Someone who is postmenopausal, over the age of 50, I'm almost in that camp in my late 40s now, that I can say that you're not going to maybe respond to these LED infrared masks as well as someone who is younger. Also, a lot of people who are saying that they're responding to LED masks and at-home devices are also doing it in combination with so many other things. It's hard to remove any confounding factors to that outcome. Meaning, if you're using an LED mask at home, but you're also getting regular facials, you're getting hydrofacials, you're using a tretinoin, you're getting peels, you're seeing your dermatologist every 3 months and getting your neuromodulator, maybe you're getting some clear and brilliant or fractionated laser resurfacing every couple of years. It may be that, so it's hard to tell. A lot of people who love their masks are also doing a lot of other things too. So it's hard to say if someone is just doing an at-home mask, if that's enough to give them their outcomes that they're looking for. In my more mature beauties, myself included, it may not be enough. And so I think to overpromise results is not only unethical, but it's just something that shouldn't be done by a lot of these companies. So just proceed with caution, and because they are expensive, know a lot of these companies don't take a refund or return product, and they have a lot of marketing behind them because they have making a lot of money in a very lucrative industry. I actually have some colleagues who I know who sell or are affiliates. Dermatologists nowadays are affiliates and kind of have these side hustle money marketing businesses where they promote certain brands, and a lot of my colleagues, when I talk to them at meetings, don't even believe in these masks, yet they promote them on their Instagram or on their social media because they get a 10% cut of sales. And so I will never do that. And I only back up things that actually truly work, like this pico laser behind me, which took me 15 years of training to learn how to master these lasers, but I know that they're tried and true, and I know that they have unmatchable outcomes, and it's a hard standard to meet. And a lot of people are trying to get a cheaper alternative for a cheaper amount of money, and sometimes it ends up being more expensive in the end. So just proceed with caution. So the cost to reverse potential complications from LED and at-home masks, usually pigmentation being the main problem. We have a clear and brilliant. I have a pico toning, pico laser. We have the 1927 nanometer Fraxel. We have medical grade bleaching and blending serums and creams that we often have to use in combination to reverse hyperpigmentation. So to reverse any melasma or hyperpigmentation from an at-home LED mask could cost anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000 when the mask itself was probably $800, and the amount of money that you spend to reverse complications ends up being more expensive than the mask alone, which would, if you would have used these same devices not to reverse complications but for rejuvenation, would have given you much better results in a much faster amount of time, safely, effectively, with long-lasting results. So just keep that in mind. Now, for my patient who ended up in the burn unit because she combined a TCA with an LED mask, that's going to be more significant, and those complications may not even be reversible. So just proceed with caution, as with anything, guys. Alternative options for better price points and better results: a prescription for tretinoin, which can do much more than any at-home device can do with regard to stimulating collagen with photorejuvenation effects. Much more impactful, significant outcome for your skin. If you're going to spend $1,000, do this instead. One clear and brilliant laser is less than $1,000 and can give you lasting effects with amazing outcomes regarding texture, tone, evening out pigmentation, shrinking pore size, stimulating collagen, smoothing fine lines and wrinkles. A long-term affordable alternative would be use of sunscreen every day, using a tretinoin or medical grade retinol or vitamin A derivative or a vitamin C, and then just living a healthy lifestyle, getting plenty of sleep, drinking plenty of water, having a good exercise regimen, and that will carry you farther and with better results that are sustainable than any at-home mask may promise you. They're having so much fun. MDR alternative to LED masks. When you're getting an LED mask, the things that you're looking for are collagen stimulation, collagen boosting, smoothing out of fine lines and wrinkles, maybe on the mid-face, maybe on the under eye, maybe on the neck and décolleté. But if you wanted an alternative to LED mask, you can use or invest in high quality medical grade skincare. So for my MDR line, if you wanted to use the ECM eye serum, which is much less than the cost of an LED at-home device, or if you wanted to use the RXR retinol, which stimulates collagen synthesis and boosts collagen, or if you wanted to use the neck and décolleté serum, the neck tight, which has topical argireline in it, which is like Botox in a bottle, that would probably be a better investment because you'll get more of an outcome and more results with a medical grade skincare product than you probably will with a time consuming and expensive at-home LED mask or device. It doesn't have to be my line, it doesn't have to be MDR, but just get high quality medical grade skincare products with active ingredients that addresses those issues. All those powerful ingredients that are going to kick off signal transduction cascades in the skin with beautiful, natural looking results that are real life results within days or weeks of use. Doesn't have to be MDR, it can be any skincare line. Do your research, look at before and afters, and when you try a new skincare product, you should notice changes within days of use. And this sometimes would be more cost effective complications than spending your money on a very expensive at-home LED mask that may cause other problems or skin irregularities. So instead of the LED mask to address under eye dark circles or under eye crepiness or fine lines or wrinkles, the ECM eye serum would help stimulate and boost collagen synthesis to help keep that under eye area nice and smooth and tight, to stimulate collagen synthesis or collagen boosting or regenerative processes in the skin. The RxR Retinol by MDR will help naturally boost collagen without the potential side effects of hyperpigmentation or some of the other side effects or complications you can have with an LED mask. And this is a lot less expensive, and you'll get more for your buck out of, it doesn't have to be MDR, but a highly engineered medical grade skincare product can get you so much more sometimes. And then also for neck and décolleté, there's the panels that the LED lights can affect the neck and décolleté skin. The skin is different than other areas of your face. It lacks sebaceous glands. The epidermis and dermis are thinner. Usually there's more ultraviolet light exposure, more damage in these areas. The neck tight serum has topical argireline in it, which is like Botox in a bottle. It affects the synapse nerve complex, and in English what that means is it smooths the skin on the neck and décolleté. It's next level in boosting collagen, elastin, and all those extracellular matrix proteins that we tend to lose, which gives that neck skin that crepey look, but using a good medical grade skincare product. It doesn't have to be MDR, but if you invest in one, you'll get much farther with your results, with better outcomes and less risk of complications like hyperpigmentation or deleterious reactions or chemical reactions or photodermatitis. All right, you guys. And with that, I'm going to bed. Good night and love you. Be sure to subscribe and tune into next week's video where I'll be taking a deep dive into the science behind many at-home face tightening, face lifting, and anti-wrinkle treatments, and also what would give best results based on your budget. I'll also get into the Nira device, as many of you have asked me to do a review on that as well. So see you next week and love you.